My 1-hour 40-minute Vietnam Airlines flight landed in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, the capital of Malaysia, around 6:30 p.m. I arrived at my Airbnb in Kuala Lumpur city center around 9 o'clock. The place has a couple of convenience stores, a restaurant, infinity pool, and view of the city. It is also near a popular food center shopping mall and monorail. This was my home base for 5 nights. The food center was easy to get to by foot. This is a view of the same spot at night. Today I purchased a token to ride the monorail to KL Central to buy a bus ticket to Georgetown. Later in the afternoon I visited the National Museum of Malaysia. It chronicles the history, culture, and people through its artifacts, clothing, crafts, and events throughout time. The admission fee was 5 ringgits or about $1.19. Such a bargain to learn more about this multi-ethnic culture of Malaysia. Located about 8 miles from Kuala Lumpur city center or KLCC is Batu Caves. This is a significant Tamil religious site made up of a series of Hindu temples housed in 4 limestone caves. After a brief orientation from our guide, we were free to explore on our own for 90 minutes. So after taking some exterior pictures, I admired the Lord Murugan gold statue at the foot of the 272-step entrance to the temple cave. You have to watch out for the monkeys along the way who will try to steal food, drink, and loose items. As I ascended up the steps, I was able to witness a Tamil Hindu individual paying homage to Lord Murugan as he carried a jug of milk on his head up the steps. Milk symbolizes purity and virtue. Once you reach the top of Temple Cave, there are 2 shrines devoted to Lord Murugan and his wife. Here are some pictures and videos of the interior and worshipping of the Tamil people. On the way back to the bus, I stood in line to receive a blessing as a remembrance of my visit to Batu Caves. Next we were off to a batik studio. This was an interactive visit where we learned the art of batik and was able to try it as well. First we watch a person using a canting pen to apply liquid wax to an outline pattern. After the wax dries, paint is applied to create colorful designs. Soon we get to try it ourselves before heading into the gift shop. I will learn more about this Malaysian national treasure later in my visit. Around 1:30 I arrived to a packed house at the Wong Mei Kee restaurant. I heard about their roasted crispy pork. I managed to share a table with another solo traveler. The long wait was worth it and glad I had the chance to try it. Later I stopped for dessert and coffee to round out my meal. The next day I explored Merdeka, or Independence Square. This is the site where Malaysia declared its independence in 1957. Surrounding this site are a number of colonial buildings. Today I visited the National Textile Museum. This is where I learned more about batik as well as the clothing and jewelry worn by the Malaysian people. The museum has 2 floors and the admission price is just $1. Here is a look inside. Next I visited the Central Market for an afternoon iced mocha. Once a wet market back in the late 1800s, it now has some 350 indoor-outdoor shops and kiosks that sell food, handicrafts, and souvenirs. Later in the evening I took a grab ride to the Surya KLCC shopping mall to view the light show, followed by a few nighttime pictures of Petronas Twin Towers. The next day I met Hakim at Independence Square for a walking tour of Kuala Lumpur. He took the time to make personal connections with each participant while educating us about the tall buildings, culture, social norms, politics, and food. We stopped near a durian market before sampling it at a fruit kiosk. It tasted better than I thought. We continued into the peddling market and sampled a local fruit called rambutan. The taste is similar to lychee. A little later we arrived at lorong peddling too. The colorful murals and street art in this alley represent the trades and culture of Kuala Lumpur. This is a popular tourist area for photographs and local food options. After taking a couple of pictures, we stopped at a cafe and tried an Austrian malted chocolate drink called Milo. This gave us a boost to walk to the metro station and ride to the Surya KLCC Mall. After some Q&A and photographs, we said goodbye to each other. Hakeem was an energetic and knowledgeable tour guide with an excellent memory for everyone's names. I found this informative tour through Guruwalk. Next I had a lamb biryani lunch at the mall before finding a luggage storage place as I got ready for my trip to Penang tomorrow. Today is June 4th and I rode a Grab to the outskirts of town for my 11:45 bus to Georgetown, via Butterworth. The 5-hour ride was comfortable with nice air conditioning and reclining seats, and the customary 2 stops along the way. Upon departure I followed the signs to the Butterworth ferry that takes you across to Georgetown. The ride took about 20 minutes. Later I caught another Grab to Sintra Heritage House where I stayed for 5 nights. Less than a 10-minute walk was an outdoor food street where I bought a local noodle dish called char kway teow. As I walked through the neighborhood I noticed a number of ironwork art pieces. They tell the story of daily street life back in the day. I learned later these artworks were a contributing factor for Malacca and Georgetown to become UNESCO heritage sites. The next day I explored Georgetown by foot. Georgetown is the capital of the Malaysian state of Penang. The British established a foothold in Georgetown in the 1770s as a trading port. As I walked through town I noticed the British colonial influence through the architecture, signage, and things like driving on the left side. I continued to discover the Malay, Chinese, and Tamil Indian influences through its Hindu and Chinese temples and Islamic mosques. Armenian Street is a popular area for its food, murals, boutique stores, and placards detailing historic events in Georgetown. Later I made my way to the Leong San Tong Ku Kongsi Clan Temple and Museum. The temple was under renovation, but because my surname is Leong I was permitted inside to look around. This is among the grandest clan houses in Malaysia. I heard that this was a shooting location for the film Anna and the King. Originally built in 1906, you can see the ornate wood carvings and intricate details in the paintings within this temple. Here is a brief look outside as I exit the temple. With a full morning of sightseeing I am ready for lunch at the Sri Weld Food Court, which is located on Beach Street. As you can see there were many food choices. After looking around I decided to try a spicy Hokkien prawn mee for lunch. That gave me energy and a full belly to visit the Wonder Food Museum in the afternoon. This is a unique museum that showcases the local Indian, Chinese, and Malayan foods through illustrations, visual plastic models, and written narrative. This was a great way to know what you are ordering at a food court or restaurant. The museum had various exhibits and information on the world's most expensive foods, food history, restaurant recommendations, and food education. I had never seen a museum like this before. Georgetown is known as the gastronomic capital of Malaysia. It is typical to eat breakfast, a mid-morning snack, lunch, a mid-afternoon snack, dinner, and an evening snack. Good thing I ate lunch before coming here. I visited this 1908 fire station as I was on my way to a 4 o'clock Little India walking food tour. Pooling, our guide, took us to the entrance of Chicken Alley. She provided some history of the area before introducing us to an Indian pani puri snack. The filling is potato, mung bean, and chili. Pooling poured a slightly spicy sauce on top. Next we went to an Indian spice shop and learned about a local nutrient-rich drumstick plant called moringa. It is used in Indian dishes such as dals, curries, and stir-fries. We walked a short distance to a food vendor and sampled pakoda and cassava Indian chips. I bought a small bag for a future bus ride snack. Our tour continued to another food vendor to sample his mung bean porridge and hot tea. Next we headed to the Sri Mahamariamman Hindu temple. Pooling told us stories about the temple and Hindu rituals. Soon we were at another food vendor and sampling masala vadai and sardine samosas. On our way to the next stop we met a well-respected hatmaker who allowed me to take a picture of him. At our final stop we tasted bamboo masala biryani chicken. I was very happy with this tour that was booked through Guru Walks. I proceeded to book a heritage walking tour with Pooling 2 days later. Good thing I had my umbrella with me as I waited for a Grab ride back to my hotel. After a hearty hotel breakfast I explored 3 of the 7 existing clan jetties. The Chu jetty is the largest. Dating back to the 1880s, Chinese immigrants arrived and began constructing crude housing that developed into stilted housing over water. Once considered slums, these jetties in this UNESCO city are protected from demolition. They are a tourist attraction and still inhabited by its clan members. Soon it was time for some Singapore noodles with shrimp and pork at a nearby restaurant that also serves dim sum. After lunch my touring continued at the Glass Museum. This is a small museum with interactive glass painting and Instagram-like photo opportunities, and an upstairs glass gallery. Here is a brief look inside before heading down Penang Road. Around 5 o'clock I took a grab to the Friday night food market. This is a very popular place with a variety of vendors selling dim sum, ramen, sausages, and more. Here's a look at the market. After eating some tempura mushrooms I found a barbershop and got myself a haircut before returning to my hotel. The next morning I met my guide Pooling for the 9 o'clock heritage walking tour. She gave us some information about the British colonial buildings and what it was like in this area back in the day. Then we went to a Chinese temple and we witnessed a blessing process, explained the numerous blessing sticks, and demonstrated the fortune-telling process. Here's a little bit of her presentation.
Okay, so I want drop down, and then I see here go to accuracy, this is a good advice for me, and then I throw it upward. Right, okay, so with this, I'm going to show you what it means, right, this way. Right, so it's this one, yeah? So this one corresponds to this one corresponds to this, and it means number 28. Alright, so then what I do is, I will scan the QR code. This one is the...
Pooling was such a wealth of information. I will do a recap with some interesting information from her and other guides at the end of my video. After a coffee break I arrived at the Penang History Gallery located on Bishop Street. A friendly docent greeted me and offered to take my picture and to give me an overview of the gallery. The information is displayed on newspaper replicas of things like how they moved a house, the type of houses back in the day, family nameplates above the main door, and through Malaysia independence in 1957. What a nice historical depiction through the exhibits, written information, and friendly docents. It was a great way to end a busy day on foot. Today is June 8th and I wanted to retrace portion of yesterday's walking tour on my own, plus see some new places. I started off at the Chaurasta Market and down Penang Road for some laksa. I saw this dish at the Food Museum. As I walked down a colorful mural street I arrived at the Peranakan Mall and found a Chinese Muslim restaurant serving stir-fried lamb. After lunch I continued my self-guided food walking tour at the Kapitan Kling Indian Muslim Mosque. A wraparound covering is provided prior to entering the mosque. A guide explained details about this early 1800s building and the 5 calls to prayer heard throughout the city. She recited a verse from the Quran that children learn when they are 3. You wash your right hand and wrist, followed by your left, and then face and arms, before proceeding to the prayer room. You face Mecca to pray. On the way back to the hotel I stopped at the Kimberley Night Market to try their oyster omelette. Today is June 9th and it's raining on my final day in Penang. I arrived for the 11:30 tour of the Penang Peranakan Mansion. Peranakans were the first southern Chinese traders who immigrated, settled, and married local women in Southeast Asia back in the 15th century. Our guide told us stories about different rooms. Let's hear a short story from the guide.
Can you see that? At the time the captain sit down here, they can read they want anyone up and down the staircase. Can you see the staircase? They brought the staircase for the owner up and down, and the staff using back way here. Olden day time, owner, staff separate. And the captain very often using these 2 big mirror for the staff, what they doing inside the room. Before reading. And the time the captain very often using this one for the children, sometimes the children go out night time and very late still not back home. As the father start get worried. And the father will come here, sit down here to wait for the children. Once the big door open, the time the father know the children already back home already, and that time the father going pretend to reading the book, pretend to reading the book, but the eyes watching the mirror. Okay.
I continued to view the furnishings, clothing, jewelry, ceramics, and such before heading for lunch at the Sri Weld food court for some wonton soup. Next it was time to go to the Blue Mansion for my 3:30 guided tour. This historic and significant mansion was the main reason for Georgetown gaining a joint UNESCO site with Malacca back in 2008. The guide points out the wealth and opulence of the owner through the Glasgow ironworks, Art Nouveau stained glass windows, teak stairwells, and other unique features. Such movies as Crazy Rich Asians was filmed here. Today's breakfast was noodles, fried egg, and fried chicken, before boarding the ferry to Butterworth. Here's a look at Scooter's boarding first. After a 4.5 hour bus ride and a stop to pick up my luggage at the HSK hotel, I arrived at my Airbnb around 5:30. The place is secure, comfortable, next door to Lumpur shopping mall, and has a nice infinity pool and view of the city. The next morning I had a hearty breakfast before going to the KL Bird Park. This 20-acre park is one of the largest in the world. There are 5 sections to the park, including aviaries, education centers, free roaming birds, and an amphitheater where programs are conducted throughout the day. About 40% of the birds roam freely or are in large enclosures. The grounds are very clean and beautifully landscaped. The admission price was $20. Here's a look at the grounds. I needed a little snack before heading back to the Airbnb to enjoy the infinity pool. This was such a luxury on the hot and humid days of my trip. The next day I ate breakfast at a hotel nearby before visiting the Sri Mahamariamman Hindu temple located on the edge of Chinatown. This is the oldest Hindu temple in Kuala Lumpur. The temple's namesake represents the goddess of weather. You are required to take your shoes off prior to entering the temple to show respect for the deities. You will notice 6 colors, red, saffron, green, yellow, white, and blue throughout the pictures in this temple. These colors represent purity, life and happiness, peace, stable mind, and depth of character. The deities with multi-faces and hands are superhuman. There are around 330 million Hindu deities. I am now headed to the Bukit Bintang neighborhood, home of the Pavilion shopping mall and high-end luxury stores. There is great air conditioning and an overwhelming number of dining options. I had a bento box and did a little grocery shopping before heading back to the infinity pool for some rest and relaxation. The next day I got a late start and went to the aquarium, which is part of the Surya KLCC shopping center. For a $20 admission fee I was able to enjoy animal feeding sessions, informative displays of aquatic animals, and see some new species I have not seen before. This 60,000 square foot facility has a moving walkway spanning a long glass tunnel to enhance your aquatic viewing pleasure. Soon it is time to say goodbye and eat a late lunch at the shopping mall before one more dip in the pool. Today is my last full day in Kuala Lumpur. I had breakfast at Hamidia Masjid Indian Muslim restaurant, located close to the Pavilion's shopping mall. I had Nazi Kandar curry lamb with basmati rice and chicken potato soup. Here's a look at their front counter. Next I was in search of a take-home treat from the Bun Chun restaurant, located in Chinatown. I found some irresistible almond, custard, and coconut tarts. I continued into the Little India neighborhood before heading back to the Airbnb to wash clothes, pack, and of course one final dip in the pool on another hot and humid day. I learned yesterday that my 5-hour bus ride was leaving at 2:30 instead of 10:45 from the new Central Shopping Mall to Singapore. So I will show a collage of pictures of my time in Malaysia while sharing information from my guides. So palm oil, technology, and tourism are the biggest economic drivers in Kuala Lumpur, or often referred to as KL. I asked Hakim what was the most popular sport, expecting him to say soccer, but to my surprise he said it was corruption. There are 9 kings in Malaysia and one is elected to serve every 5 years. There seems to be a round robin of elected officials that are elected, fired, jailed, freed, back in power, and fired again. There is a liberal holiday system, tremendous gas subsidies, and medical surgery tourism in Malaysia. They love their tall buildings, fancy shopping centers, and food. Back in the day Chinese people could not own a house, but a structure over water was not considered as property or a house. That's why there are jetties in Georgetown. There was civil war in China back in the 1800s, and Chinese immigrants escaped to Malaysia to fulfill its labor shortages in mining and rubber plantations. If you are a non-Muslim and marry a Muslim spouse, then you become Muslim for life. These are just some of the stories told during my time in Malaysia. I can still hear the calls to pray echoing throughout the city, and visualize the heavy car traffic in the core center of town. But now it is time to catch my bus. The ride took much longer than expected with the heavy traffic, heavy downpours of rain, and the log jam as we entered the border of Singapore. We were moved like cattle on and off the bus with our luggage as we went through a couple of security clearances. After taking a grab from Jurong East, I finally made it to my hotel in Chinatown around 10 p.m.